Hello, my name is Christopher Fernandez, and today we're going to be talking about the ethics behind the illegal distribution of anime and, as a result, manga. Before we start, I would first like to address the standards and provisions that we're going to be using to determine whether or not we believe that it's ethical. The standard we're going to be using is Kantian ethics, specifically the provisions of goodwill and duty, as well as the perfect and imperfect duties. To elaborate, goodwill and duty would be something like you've done a good thing or a bad thing for a good cause. Like, in this case, we would talk about the illegal distribution of anime. But there are certain cases where that wouldn't really work out, and I do want to mention about how the professor had mentioned that this wasn't a very good way to argue, but I thought that we could use these Kantian ethics, especially because of the provision that we're not going to be using in this case, but the universality provision, which would basically say if everyone did this bad thing for a good reason, then it ceases to be a bad thing because it's a normal thing to be doing. So it's that whole issue that we have. So now we're going to move on to duty. Duty has two different types, like it splits off into two different parts. We have perfect duty, which means that this is a duty that you're always supposed to be performing. So if there's ever a situation where you need to choose between two things, your perfect duty would be the obvious good thing to do. Like if you were to decide should I run over this person or should I not run over this person, it's your perfect duty to not run over the person, because you'll never get into a situation where running over a random person that you don't know or know anything about would be a good thing. On the other hand, imperfect duty means that it's not always necessary for you to do, and it's not always beneficial to do it. Like, if you were in a situation that you were required to help someone that you don't necessarily need to help, it doesn't mean you have to help them. But it would be good if you did. That's where it plays into the goodwill part. Alright, so now that we've gotten through the ethical standard and the specific provisions that we're going to be using, let's go ahead and talk about the ethical and unethical sides of this topic. Alright, so we're going to start off with the ethical side that I'm for. The illegal distribution of anime. The whole point of it being illegal is the fact that we're going against the copyright laws that are meant to protect the creators, to ensure that creators keep creating and that new creators come about so that they can continue to profit off of what they create. On the ethical side, this is ethical because of the fact that the illegal distribution of anime and the manga actually promoting the anime industry globally. What I mean is that most of the time, all of this that's happening, all of this illegal distribution is happening outside of Japan. What people are doing is that they're taking these anime that are in Japan, they're taking it over to their home country. Let's use America as an example, and then they're giving it subtitles, English subtitles, so that people can actually watch the anime and understand what's going on. Because of this, anime has really blown up in other parts of the world because of all these people subtitling the anime. I know that there are companies that do this now legally, but when this first started back in the early 2000s, there were no companies that were doing this because they didn't realize how big anime was. There were some companies that were starting up, they were dubbing the anime, but there wasn't really anyone subbing the anime. So by subbing the anime and making it available to all these other countries, the popularity of these anime grew exponentially. One Piece is a great example. One Piece, although very popular in Japan, blew up across the world because it was distributed to people across the world in subtitled form, and that really had a big impact on its popularity. A lot of anime and manga have had this happen to them. Now, see, I mentioned 2000s earlier, But in reality, this was probably happening sometime before that. But before the internet really got popular, which happened after the 2000s, as a personal home kind of thing, people weren't really getting this anime and manga. But after people started getting onto the internet, and it was more common for people to get on the internet, people were able to distribute all of this anime and manga across the world very easily, very cheaply, because they didn't have to, make their own copies or reprint over them. They could just use their computers to change the way they looked and then post them like that. Because of that, a lot of anime and manga have really gotten off the ground. As you see in this chart that I'm showing you here, back in the early 2000s, the anime industry really wasn't that big. But once we get further down, you see it starts growing and growing. We did have a dip here because of the recession that we had, but it started growing again. And then especially in recent times, it's grown a lot. It's basically doubled what it was 14 years ago, or at least 14 years based on this when this graph ended, because this was from 2017. It shows that this had a very big effect on the manga and anime industry, which is why a lot of companies tend not to try to deal with all of these copyright violations on these websites and such, because they realized that this is helping us. So the thing is that it wasn't just that it was improving the anime industry. Now, see, it may be kind of confusing to think about why the anime industry has grown so much, despite the fact that people are literally illegally obtaining stuff for free and not paying any money for it. And that whole point is the merchandise, not just the merchandise, the printings and the DVDs and such. I don't know how it is for most people, but why would I ever want to buy a book or a DVD of something that I've never watched, never read, don't know anything about? And even if I did think it was interesting, why would I want to spend $30, $40 on a season of an anime that I don't know if I'm going to like or not? That's a waste of money. Now, what if I watched the anime online? I watched it illegally, but I was like, man, I really like this. Or I really like the author who made this. I want to support them, or I just want to have the DVD collection because I really like it and I want to have it, the ability to watch it in HD whenever I want. Now they're going out and buying all this stuff, and now it's not a waste. Now it's not like people are wasting their money on something that they're not interested in or they don't want. They're going out and buying these DVDs because they want these DVDs. They're willing to pay more for these DVDs. And merchandise too. You can't distribute merchandise illegally on the internet. I can't get a figurine of an anime robot by having it materialize on my computer. Instead, I've watched the anime, I really liked it, I wanted stuff from the anime, and there's all sorts of websites online that you can go to and buy merchandise. One Piece, a great example, a very, very popular manga and anime, has their own website. You can go and buy merchandise, officially licensed merchandise, very high quality merchandise, expensive merchandise. People are spending money on this. The anime industry is not suffering at all from people illegally distributing their stuff. So that basically shows that this isn't having a negative effect. This is a very good thing for the anime industry. On top of the fact that most of the people who are illegally distributing this stuff are distributing it more because they want to get this stuff out there than that they're actually making money off of it. I've noticed that a lot of these translators, I say translators, but they're not officially translators, they do take donations and stuff, but they just release their stuff. They are not actually charging people to get this. So that's a good point to make. People who are distributing it aren't really making a profit out of anything. And all they're doing is helping the anime industry grow more and more as time has gone on. So essentially what we're working off of here is those people, those distributors, are performing some kind of goodwill, and on top of that, they're also performing an imperfect duty. They don't have to distribute any of this. They can download illegally their shows, never tell anyone about it, never distribute it, never try to help anyone else out over it. But they've decided to do so because not only does it benefit others, but it can also have some benefit for themselves because they're promoting the anime that they apparently like. Because why would you ever want to work on something that you don't like? So they're taking these anime that they like, they're not charging any money for it, they're distributing it so that they can promote it. By promoting it, they're ensuring the success of that anime that they like, and maybe even the author will end up creating a new series that they also like, based on all the money that they made off the first season, or the first series, or whatever it is that you're looking at. Alright, now, I feel like we've talked a lot about the ethical side. What about the unethical side? And see, the bottom line is that no matter what kind of benefits we're creating, no matter what goodwill we have, or at least some of us might have, the fact is that this is still illegal. We are breaking a law. We are breaking many laws. In America, we could get great fines. I think some of the fines you see on those old videotapes were upwards of $250,000. The fact is that there are still a lot of people who end up not profiting from this. What if an anime doesn't go well even after it's gone and been distributed across the world? They've lost a lot of money from people not buying their DVDs to see what this series is about because it's a terrible series that nobody wanted to buy. If I saw an anime online that was distributed legally and I thought this was the most garbage thing I've ever seen, why would I go and buy things from it? Why would I buy merchandise? Why would I buy DVDs? Essentially, they've lost any possibility of me giving money to them for their products, which means that now that person who created that terrible anime has lost a lot of money. All of the possibility of getting money from people buying the anime to even see what it was about is gone because someone illegally distributed it and everyone who watched it decided they didn't want it. So that kills off all of those creators who aren't confident in what they've done, who aren't able to do good anime, to make good manga, to make these good stories that are going to get out, to make a profit off of that. So all of those people get cut out, and that's a bad thing for the industry. If all of these new creators who are just getting started end up getting messed up or destroyed by that, then they can't continue onward. On top of that, this does go against goodwill. Regardless of what intentions you might have, you're causing problems for the creators. Until this starts profiting, if a creator wasn't planning on making some kind of investment, I say investment because even if it does get illegally distributed and you're going to get some revenue back later on because it was a good series, that takes time. That takes a lot of time for things to really pick up across the world. So if a creator wasn't planning to wait for all of this profit to come in globally, but they were just planning for it to be a local thing in Japan, now they have to wait because they're not getting as much money as they would have been if people had just not distributed it and just paid money for the DVDs in Japan at the time to watch it and to see whether or not they liked it. So this goes against that provision, and you also have to think about those people that are doing it for profit. There are probably many people who go and they take these anime illegally right after they've come out, before other people have gotten a chance to do it properly and for free, and then they try to sell it off. They try to make DVDs, they try to make illegal merchandise, they try to sell these things off so that they can make money off of them, in which case it's no longer goodwill, now it's just a plague on the industry because of all the money that they're losing by these people doing that, by illegally doing these things. In conclusion, despite all of the negative effects of the unethical side, at the end of the day, this has very clearly had a positive effect on the industry. We can see by the chart that I had shown earlier It was from the Association of Japanese Animators, and it showed exactly how the trend of the anime industry has been growing over the years, and it's had a very good positive impact on the industry. The industry has grown a lot in these past decade to 2 decades because of all of this distribution, all of the spreading of anime and manga across the world that has really popularized it, especially in first world countries like America or countries in Eastern or Western Europe. Therefore, I'm going to conclude that it is ethical because of the fact that it follows the goodwill provision. It follows the imperfect duty provision. You're doing good for your society. You don't have to be doing it. You're promoting things. You're improving society. You're causing happiness and security for many people across the world who are creators of this anime and manga. You're creating many jobs because now all of these companies, at the beginning there weren't any companies who were doing this stuff, but now all of these companies like Funimation, like Crunchyroll, all these companies have come up and they're dubbing and they're subbing and they're making money off of it and they're providing jobs to people and they're growing and they're helping anime companies from Japan get their stuff to other countries to allow for more profit, to allow for things to continue to grow. So the positive effects are just growing and growing and growing. And I hope that this continues to happen. The industry will continue to grow and continue to get better and continue to provide me with great entertainment that I love.